Hello, Gaston County. Welcome to episode number 42 of Gaston's Great, a podcast highlighting some of the great things happening in and around Gaston County. I'm your host, Stephen Long, and we are coming to you once again from the international headquarters of GSM Services right here in downtown Gastonia. And we continue to look forward to having some great discussions in the coming weeks and months. We simply believe in discussing more of the reasons why Gaston's great. We are highlighting another great organization this week and have Jay Oliver with us. Jay is the Executive Director of Crowder's Camps. Jay, it's great to have you on, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Stephen. It's great to be here.
All right, well, we're going to get right to it. And Jay, if you don't mind, just tell us a little bit about yourself, anything you'd like to share for our listeners.
Well, again, I'm Jay Oliver. I'm a born and bred camp guy. That's what I call myself. Actually, you can go, my Instagram's at the camp guy.
Okay.
I didn't do that just to stay anonymous. With my name, I just absolutely love camp.
Right.
My wife and I, we have 3 kids. Her name's Carrie. She works with special needs kids. And so we both have a passion with working with kids. And my son Noah, he goes to Appalachian State University.
Okay.
Plans to come back and help his old pop in camp ministry. And my daughter, Anna, she plans to attend NC State.
Yes.
NC State University.
Did you hear that, Elizabeth? All right, just making sure.
I had some major struggles with that at first. I played the worst game ever, which is church league softball. And I got up there one night and literally I struck out 3 times. And as I was walking off the field, somebody said, "Hey, you must go to NC State since all you do is woof, woof."
Oh, wow.
Wolf pack.
That's funny.
So, yeah. And my last daughter is Abby. She's a sophomore this year, loves drama, and they all love Gaston County.
Okay, very good. Well, I have a daughter at Appalachian State, her junior year at App. So,
Oh, there you go.
yeah, we love that area. It's a great school and great location. So, let's kind of dive right into Crowder's Camp. Can you give us kind of combine this question, kind of a little bit of the history of the camp, how it got started, how you ended up there, and just kind of share what you can about that?
Yeah, so I came to Gastonia in 2004. I wasn't born here, but I might as well have been born here at this point. I was actually brought here to be the student pastor at a local church, Bethlehem Church, which is now City Church.
Okay.
And a year into that ministry, God just literally put a burden on my heart and birthed a dream that, hey, I want you to do camps. And I heard it like this. It wasn't audible, but I heard it. Hey, I want you to do camps as with all the bells and whistles, but as affordable as possible. I was like, okay.
How do you do that?
Yeah. I'm going to be broke. That's what
That's what you heard.
Yeah,
huh?
that's what I heard. So in 2005, we started out and we doing camps at different locations, and we did that for 10 years. And our last year, we was having about 3,000 kids in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and the hotel decides to not rebook us for the next year. They put millions of dollars in renovations and decided they didn't want a bunch of students running around,
Okay.
and they'd rather just have people come in. So I really honestly didn't know what I was going to do. So I started literally looking for camps to rent, but also with all the money I had, which was absolutely nothing, buy one. And how are you going to buy a camp or build a camp? So I was in Stanley. Back at the story, Dickie Spargo had already came and talked to the Rotary Club of Gaston County, and they mentioned Camp Rotary wasn't really being used. Maybe the Dream Center of Gaston County, which is another nonprofit, could potentially use it. So I had already done a little presentation with the Rotary Club and Dickie Spargo on behalf of the Dream Center, and that didn't go anywhere, though. So that had already died months before this happened. So I'm out in Stanley, which is part of Gaston County as well. I'm looking at this land with this creek out there, and it's beautiful. And literally, I just felt something in my heart say, hey, call the Girl Scouts. Don't ask them for cookies. Ask them for the camp. And that's exactly what I did. I went home and literally called the Girl Scouts who were running Camp Rotary, but the Rotary Club of Gaston County gifted it to the Girl Scouts,
Yep.
and we're still involved in all that legal stuff. We won't get into all that, but
Yeah.
So this was a rundown camp. I mean, nothing was pretty much operable in the whole entire camp. Most air conditioners were out. Every cabin had to be reframed and everything. So we started in faith towards that process, and we were granted a 100-year lease on the property through the Girl Scouts, and we had our first $100,000 gift given, which was a total God thing, and we started renovating that camp, and we're able to open it by the summer of 2015. So we've been running camp, and every year we've been running camp there for 7 years. It'll be our 7th year this summer, and we see that around 13,000 kids come through every year through retreats and camps, which is really cool.
All right, so make sure our listeners heard that. He just said 13,000. That wasn't a
13,000.
That's a lot. That's a big number.
Yeah.
And little old, well, I shouldn't say little old, but right here in Gaston County. Okay, yep. I bet a lot of our listeners had no idea that there was that kind of a camp here within within the county. So that's really great to hear. And just as a side note, I was lucky enough. I'm gonna say lucky enough as a member of the Rotary Club of Gastonia to be in some of those early meetings with Jay as he was kind of talking about this concept and what wanted to happen there. I remember at the time thinking, man, this would be so good for Gaston County, and so it's nice to hear this 7-8 years later what's really going on out there on an annual basis. So I appreciate you sharing that, Jay. Can you talk a little bit about what is there a specific mission of Crowder's Camps, or just kind of what is it that you're trying to accomplish out there at Crowder's Mountain?
Yeah, so the paper vision is to ignite sparks in this generation and beyond. And those sparks that we want to ignite, I think everybody listening to this podcast will probably agree that at some point in your life you went out to a camp or experience and you've had this, like, it's almost like a landmark moment where you just felt like you were a part of something greater than yourself.
Right.
That's the first thing we want to produce is opportunities for kids to come to camp. The second thing, of course, is faith. We tried to instill biblical principles, in their life while they're there. But we also try to instill a lot of morals and leadership as they're there too. I mean, when the kid climbs a 30-foot pole, and whether it takes them 10 minutes to jump off that pole or 20 minutes, something changes in their life. And we get a lot of kids from a lot of different backgrounds. Some are foster care. Some kids that can't ever even afford to come to camp, we scholarship them to come. And so a lot of things are happening because for some reason, when you go on vacation, you have a choice. You can either make it a restful vacation. I mean, going to Disney is not a vacation. You know what I mean? I'm sorry. I just heard somebody's feelings in the room. I'm sorry, but Disney is not a vacation at all.
It's not a restful vacation.
Exactly. It's a adventurous type vacation.
Sure.
But what happens when they come to our camp is they're almost like they're in an incubator. They're totally unplugged. And sometimes to connect, you have to disconnect. And that's exactly what camp does for kids. They disconnect from all their past hurts. They're almost in a new world. They're getting to do adventures. They're getting to build themselves up, with different other leadership opportunities. Right. Socially, they're stuck in an itty-bitty 16-by-16 cabin with 9 other people. They have to talk. They have to meet friends, and sometimes those friends become friends for a lifetime.
So that's a lot to kind of digest right there. But can you kind of maybe expand a little further and talk about, I'm not sure this is the right word, talk about some of the initiatives, the programs, the type of camps you're having, what type of kids do you typically have out there, maybe even age group, but just kind of just in general when you talk about camps, I mean, just kind of maybe share some of the specifics of kind of what you've got going on.
Yeah, so we normally run a 5-day camp, 4 nights, 5 days. Kids come in on a Monday, they leave on a Friday. Majority, because of my my experience as a student pastor, majority of our kids are high school and middle school students, okay. Which is what we found later was a huge negative. We started out doing very little kid stuff just because I was a youth pastor for so long, and a lot of my influence were to other student pastors. Hey, bring your kids to this camp. So we bring in a lot of groups, a lot of church groups from all different denominations. We're not set in one particular denomination because I wanted to be able to reach Methodist, Luther, everybody, Baptist, whoever you are. I want you to come to camp. So we do summer camps through all the peak season of the summer. Then we do retreats year-round. And through that, we also have a huge leadership development program for high school students to learn how to serve and to learn how to be leaders. And also a huge college leadership program during the summer that is paid. So there's a lot of, It's a lot to take in, but there's a lot of different initiatives that we do.
And so, yeah, it's not just I'm 51 now, so not what I would consider the classic camp from when I was a teenager. So there's a lot more going on than just that typical 5-day summer camp that you see.
Yeah. I mean, one of the biggest questions I get, you guys do just in the summer? No, we do it year round. I mean, we got probably 160 kids coming this weekend.
Oh, wow. Okay. So where are these kids coming from? Are they local? You have groups traveling in to Gaston County. Kind of where are you reaching? Or yes, it's all of the above.
We have a group that comes from Newport, Virginia in the summer. We have a group that comes from Concord, Tennessee.
Okay.
It's all over the place. Majority's right here. In the surrounding areas of Gaston County. We have a lot of committed, loyal Gaston County churches that come and use us every year as well. Okay.
So this question is one I like. I'm not sure, this one may be tough, but can you, with your time with Crowder's camps and all the kids coming in and out, families maybe coming in and out, organizations being involved, can you think of a specific example or a story related to a kid or a family or something that you were like, man, you heard about an impact or you saw an impact that occurred, or some kind of anecdotal story you might could share?
Yeah, I have thousands.
I'm sure. Okay.
I have thousands. But I would like to kind of break it down here to two specific groups. One being Least of These of the Carolinas.
Yep. We've had them on the podcast. Yeah.
Incredible organization, but their week of camp is probably one that we just can't live without.
Okay.
Because every one of their leaders is totally blown away. And as you walk around that camp, I tell my college staff, hey, guys, can you just imagine that all these kids are walking around with no parents? Yeah. And here they are bringing 125, 130 kids to our camp, and we partner with them on their camp, and we run all the background stuff and recs and all this other stuff and let them focus on the kids because that's what their counselors are trained to do, and we focus on the fun. So that's not one particular, that's hundreds of particulars. Every single one of those leaders in my team are totally wrecked at the end of the week. The relationships are built. These kids need us. These kids need that landmark moment. Oh, yeah, a bag of toys and clothes are great. But, man, they got to do something that totally just took their mind off of their woes in their life. I mean, a lot of us, we complain because our internet's slow. They have no family at all. So that's one of the biggest things. And actually what we did next year, we basically cleared our whole calendar, gave Least of These a key week in the middle of the summer instead at the very end, so their impact can be greater. Andy Stanley, a pastor in Atlanta, Georgia, he said this one time. He said, partner, don't pioneer. And we can go out and try to start our own foster camp and dealing with DSS and all that, but Suzanne Cavanaugh and Least of These are already doing it, so we want to partner with them. The second initiative I want to talk about is a local church here in Gaston County called First United Methodist Church. Those guys are crazy. If you listen to this podcast, I said it. They are the only group still that I know that will get in their vans and go out in this community and pick up kids and bring them to camp. When we first started Crowder's Ridge over here, they were meeting in the basement of the YMCA. That was not a camp. But those committed leaders over there were still going at it, doing the very best they can. Now, they've been with us for the past 7 years, and they are just absolutely killing it. Every year they bring kids that cannot afford.
So you're talking about Camp Sunshine?
Camp Sunshine.
So I had to throw it in here. I'm a member of First Methodist.
Are you?
Yes, I sure am.
So all you guys know,
I've been personally involved a little bit before it was at Crowder's camps, but my wife and kids have been involved, and actually my daughters have been counselors out there to help during that. Yeah,
I did not know that. I'm so impressed with those guys, though, because I went to Gaston County's Department of Human Resources, and I sit down with their leaders. I said, hey, I want to give camp away for free to all these low-income kids in Gaston County. Why? Because I believe –
it's all good.
Good, man. I believe every kid in Gaston County deserves a week of camp, no matter what kind of background they're faced with. So I was like, hey, we want to give them free camp. Will you guys help advertise that? They said, yeah, sure. but here's going to be your greatest obstacle. I was like, what? Give it to me. I'm ready. They have no transportation. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
There's no bus stop at Crowder's Mountain. You know what I mean? There's no way. And so the parents don't have cars, and that's one reason why they're on welfare and food stamps and all that other stuff, government assistance, because they, and some of it's initiative. We all know that, but a lot of it is they're trying and they still can't afford a car. So those two groups there are the highlights of my summer. And, I love all of our groups, so don't stop coming to camp if you listen to this podcast. But those two groups there are literally impacting some great groups that need impacting here in Gaston County.
All right. Well, I really appreciate you sharing, especially, both of them. Again, I'm a fan of Least of These Carolina, but I'm obviously a big fan of First Methodist as well. So, again, I appreciate that. So, again, you may have already answered this question. Those two things you just shared, but I'm going to ask it anyway. If there's anything else you want to share, is there's something else that you could point out maybe in your 7 or 8 years there? What are you most proud of accomplishing over your time at Crowder's camps?
I'm proud of everything we've done.
Okay.
But I'm mostly, as I sit back and remember this story of how the camp even came to existence, I'm so glad that we were able to take such a crown jewel in Gaston County. If you've never been to what we call Crowder's Ridge, both of our camps are Crowder's Camps. Our organization's Crowder's Camps, but Crowder's Ridge is the old Camp Rotary. If you ever get a chance just to drive by 130 Camp Rotary Road, it's a beautiful place that we were able to refurbish and reuse, and it butts up exactly to the state park. And so it looks like it goes forever, but it's only like 26 acres big. But back in my few sentences ago, I told you we didn't get to do a lot of things for kids. So in 2019, some land went up for sale down Linwood, which is about a mile away from our current property. And William Shuford is a great man, and he almost gave us the property. We paid just a small percentage of it, but we own another 57 acres now down the road.
Okay.
So this summer, COVID hit, ruined everything. We had to totally adjust our schedule. No overnight camps. We went to day camps. But by doing that, we saw another model, which is day camp. So this summer, we're opening up day camps for elementary kids. So that's something I'm really proud of, that we were able to go through something bad. Somebody said this one time. They says, through your greatest failures, you'll learn how to be successful. Yep. And I think COVID showed us that.
Failure is maybe the greatest teacher, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly. And COVID, I think, was failure for a lot of organizations that had to shut down.
Yeah, I'm hoping here it is. We're recording this, I guess, February 25th. Hopefully we are finally getting back. Well, I don't know we'll ever get back to the way it was before. We're kind of getting through this. This 2-year period almost that we've been dealing with, and again, and nobody's been immune to it. No pun intended, using that word immune, but nobody's hasn't dealt with some type of issue or opportunity related to the 2 years. So Jay, this is a podcast about Gaston County and why Gaston County is such a great place, and I'm a little biased about that. But why would you say? Again, you've already shared a lot of reasons, but why would you say, maybe your own words, Gaston County is better because the Crowder's Camps is here?
Well, we're hoping to take we're hoping to allow every kid in Gaston County experience to be out there one way, shape, or another. So we want to help change their foundations. We want to add to the great things they know, but also open their minds up to something else in life, whether it be that leadership or faith, or maybe it's that landmark moment of them experiencing something different in their life. Crowder's Camps does provide that. It shakes them at the core and kind of lets them kind of reboot. And that's what I think we give to Gaston County. Plus going after these low-income kids, foster kids, well-to-do kids, middle class, whatever. We're going after your kids. That's just what we're doing. We're going after your kids.
So you're looking ahead, 5-10 years down the road. Do you have any big plans, anything different? How do you envision the organization looking down the road?
We're saying this very broke. I see 3 camps.
Okay.
We already have 2 now, Crowder's Ridge and Crowder Springs. Crowder Springs is going to be dedicated towards elementary kids. And then I believe the way the forecast is driving youth ministries and teenagers, I believe we'll have Crowder's Valley as well, which is another property adjacent to Crowder Springs where it will be all middle schoolers. And then Crowder's Ridge, the original camp, will be all high school oriented. I believe that thought processes are changing. I think elementary kids think like middle schoolers do now. That middle schoolers used to think 10 years ago. Yeah. Middle schoolers think like high schoolers now. High schoolers think like college kids now.
Oh, yeah.
And, it's amazing because there's so much availability through their phone and technology.
Yeah, I have 3 kids, so no question that they are exposed to things sooner or have access to more information than I did. When I was going through school. So that's a good point, and not something I've really ever thought about. But you're exactly right. I'm not sure. And most of it, I guess I would say as a parent, some of it good and bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, that's a lot of great information, Jay. Is there something? I mean, let me be clear. We're obviously, before we finish, we'll make sure to cover how to help the camp, donate, how to get more information. But before we finish up, is there anything else? Anything I haven't asked that I should? Anything else you'd like to share about the camps? Before we're going to shift gears just briefly before we kind of come back and finish up with Crowder's camps.
I think, I probably the only thing you haven't asked that we hadn't talked about is really how people get involved, which you just kind of talked about. We love using people's talents, whether, hey, I love to build stuff, or, hey, I love to serve meals. We also love how people give as well to the camp. And just a couple stats, we opened up our scholarship program just a couple weeks ago. We've already scholarshiped 3 churches to come to camp, 7 individuals, $9,000 value. Most of these kids that have applied so far have significant trauma in their lives, or they're on government assistance, or they're in foster care, or, believe it or not, they just moved here and have no social circle. Which that's something I wouldn't even thought about.
Right.
But we see how Gaston County's growing right now, and we see all these houses popping up. So who in the world's living in these houses, right?
Yeah.
I've lived here for 19 years. Well, they're all filling up. And so we got a lot of new people in the community so they're looking for places where their kids can connect. So we need, a lot of help with just giving $100 to sponsor a kid to come to camp.
Okay.
So I mean, there's a lot of details in that.
Okay. One thing I just thought about that I'm familiar with, but maybe our listeners might not be, I'm assuming the what do you call it? Is it the shoot that you call it? Is that
Shoots, yeah.
Is that still an activity out there at the camp?
Yeah, it is.
Isn't that a separate activity that groups can do? Or
it was in the wintertime. Yes.
Okay.
We try to shut it down in spring.
Sure.
So before everybody starts Googling what the shoots are, you ain't gonna believe this, but we live in Gaston County. Okay, it's snowless winter tubing.
Yes.
So it's something that I had the idea. Actually, I took my kids tubing, paid $57 per person to go tubing, and half of it was ice and the rest of it was mulch. And I said, man, we can do this in Gaston County. And sure enough, we came back and created it.
I thought of it because I'm involved with a group called F3, and I've actually been out there twice for events. I think 2016, we actually had a weekend retreat out there with my F3 group, and then we had a Sunday, something like it was a Sunday afternoon that we went out and did the shoot with our kids. It's
one of our biggest fundraisers.
Okay, very good. Well, I'm glad to hear that. So again, Jay, I appreciate you sharing all these things about the camps. And again, like I said, we'll come back to this, but we're going to shift gears real quick because this is a podcast about Gaston County. So we like to get your take on a few specific Gaston County questions. So this is really, I think I say this every week, but this is really what the staff, your family, your friend, this is really what everybody wants to know about you. This is the reason they're going to listen to the episode, right?
Okay.
And we're going to call this the, I don't know, bring your kids out to Crowder's Camp's speed round of questions.
Okay.
I change the name every time.
Let's go.
All right, Jay, here we go. What is your favorite Tony's ice cream flavor?
I'm an old soul, so I'm going to say vanilla.
Okay. vanilla.
I would say great, but I've never tasted it.
You know what episode was it? Gaston Business Association. We actually had a taste testing during the episode. So
Nice.
and I have to admit, grape was better than I expected. I think we had grape, lemon, and black cherry. They were all surprisingly good because I'm a chocolate guy, and I always say I'm gonna get something different every time, and I never do.
Me neither.
Yeah, but we had it was actually, listening to that episode. Our listeners out there, you want to hear the awkwardness of a live taste test on a podcast. Yeah, exactly. Sundrop or chill wine?
I'm definitely a Sundrop fan.
All right. Favorite local restaurant?
I have two.
Okay.
Some of y'all may know this, Byron's Grill.
Oh, yeah, down New Hope Road.
Best cheeseburger you can get right there in fries. And again, I'm an old soul. I ate lunch there today, Medicine Box Pharmacy.
Okay.
Absolutely. Love it.
Surprisingly, Byram's that's the second time somebody has said Byram's.
Really?
I think Emily Carpenter did when we had traveling tourism on here.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's good answers. All right, this may be a foregone conclusion on this one. Favorite outdoor activity in Gaston County?
I'm not gonna be that biased. Here's my favorite outdoor activity. I love dating my wife and going out to just new hot spots, new local hot spots.
Okay.
Belmont's blowing up. They got
Yeah.
all kinds of cool places in Belmont. And then you got everything happening on the Franklin there with the new development. They just put in a new cookie shop.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
like that? Yeah, it's good. They're too big, though. They're too big when you're trying to work out. Just don't even try
Yeah,
it.
my daughter brought home some from there
Yummies?
last weekend.
Yummy cookie? Is it yummy?
I don't remember the exact name of it, but you're right. I think she had 3, and that was like over a week ago, and there's half of one still left because
Yeah.
they're so gigantic.
They are. They are.
But they were good. I
Yep.
mean, they were good.
My favorite park in Gaston County is just Raw Woods, which is the biggest benefit of Gaston County. It is like you're here, but you can jump to anything really, really fast.
Yep.
So you got the woods, you got the lake, you got Crowder's Mountain, which is a hidden gem of the Charlotte metro area.
Right.
You go hiking, but I love just finding a creek and walking it, and that's my favorite
Yeah,
part.
very good. Yeah, because you feel like you're far away from anything,
Yeah.
but you're still within just a few minutes of Gastonia or any other
You
other
can
cities
get
here.
you can get in your convertible and just drive down Linwood Road and feel like you drove to Boone for the day.
Yeah, that's true.
It's great out there.
All right, here's my question that is my own question that there's only one correct answer, and I'm going to ask it regardless of who the guest is. So, UNC Duke or NC State?
Well, because of my daughter, and I actually was accepted into NC State
Okay.
before I felt the call to go into ministry, and all that changed. But I'm going to say NC State in honor of Anna Oliver.
All right, very good. Give us something positive here. Yeah, all right.
There we go. Yeah.
All right, Jay, what is something very few people know about you?
In my early days, I had a cover band called 413, and I actually opened up for one of the largest Christian worship artists that's ever been, Chris Tomlin. And I have a newspaper clipping to prove it.
Wow.
Yeah, he had no idea we was going to be there, but we did.
So is there any like video proof of this on YouTube or anything? Or
Just a newspaper article.
okay.
And it specifically says the J. Oliver Band, which that was not the name of it.
Oh, that's funny. Well, that's great.
Yeah.
That's interesting to hear.
Yeah, I use that a lot.
What about a book that you would recommend to our readers, or a blog or article or anything that you might follow?
Yeah, but I had this guy that I really looked up to early on in my ministry. His name is Blaine Bartell. He's out of Oklahoma. He wrote a book called Death of a Thousand Lives, and the book is very detailed, and it's all about how a man fell. And it started with just some deep, dark lies, and he ended up losing his career, his marriage. But then he also talks about the restoration that happens after that. But it's a very good read to check yourself.
Very good. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. I'll have to look into that. I'm a big reader. I'm always looking for the next book to put in my queue behind the other 50 books I'm never going to get to. But no, that's good. I appreciate you sharing that. So, Jay, I appreciate you indulging us on those Gaston County questions. So we're going to finish up here with a few more questions. And so, again, remembering this is about Gaston County. So you've been here, I think you said, since 2004. So you've been here long enough to have a good feel for this question. So besides Crowder's Camps, why would you say Gaston County is such a great place?
I honestly think the people are great. but I also think the location is what makes Gaston County great. Being so close to Charlotte, it's down home, but yet it's metro at the same time. I mean, you can hit I-85 and get to anywhere quick.
Yes. Yep.
But then you have the rusticness of Gaston County, the hills, the woods, and I think that's why I love Gaston County.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. Yeah, it is. I've traveled enough to know this is a unique place, and I mean that in the most positive sense. And we can get to the mountains, the beach, or wherever, like you said, very, very quickly. So looking back a few years, knowing what you know now, Jay, what advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
It was actually 25 years ago. So I'm getting old now. I'm 45.
You don't have to admit that, but I appreciate you sharing that.
I would tell myself to never lose my drive, but slow down.
Okay. Yep.
Slow down and take more day trips. When you get married, I was married at 21. We had kids at probably 24, and we never took those day trips like we needed to.
Right.
And time flies.
Sure,
you look at all these older folks. Don't blink or it'll be gone. And you're like, you don't know what you're talking about. Man, it's so true.
They were right, weren't they?
They were totally right.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, to your point, I've got two in college. I got one getting ready to graduate college in a few months, and my daughter's a year behind, and then I got a sophomore here at Forest View High School. So yeah, it was just yesterday that I got married and started having kids, and that was almost 26 years ago. It'll be 26 years next week, actually.
Next week.
Don't let me forget that, Elizabeth.
Happy anniversary.
I'll be in trouble. Thank you. That's next Wednesday, I think. Well, again, I appreciate you sharing those questions. So, Jay, this has been really good. So obviously, the most important point and what we're really trying to accomplish with our podcast here is to make our community more aware of organizations like Crowder's Camp. So, where can listeners go to learn more about the organization, get involved, contact you guys directly, donate? Are there just anything you want to share there?
Yeah, I mean, crowderscamps.com is the number one way, if you can remember that, Crowders with the S, camps with the S.com. But I want to do a little advertisement right quick, because I know probably the people listening to this are career people, and they probably have kids out there, right? Kids you love and adore, and they're your special kids. They're your kids. But we're looking for any outgoing college-age kids to be some of our summer staffers. It is a paid position, but it does great for resumes. Absolutely. And so if you have a college son or daughter and you want them to be involved, maybe they love students or kids, have them go to crowderscamps.com and fill out an application for our summer staff. But not just that. We talked about, leadership development early on. Yeah. We take high schoolers into our intern program, and they learn how to serve people behind the scenes. Incredible program, and guess how much it costs?
I'm guessing $0.
Free.
Wow,
absolutely free. And you and me know, because we've had kids go into college. There's resumes now for colleges to see. Yep. There's community service hours. There's all kinds of stuff, and everything we do with these summer interns, which, let me say it again, is a free program, can go on that resume and help build that up. Plus, the experience is absolutely phenomenal. We had kids, out of 11 weeks, we had kids that came back 3 or 4 weeks to serve. They enjoyed it that much. They get to go to all the services. They get to do small group stuff, activities, but they serve other people coming to our camps, which is really cool. So to donate or to find out any information about these programs, please go to crowderscamps.com. My email address is jay@crowderscamps.com. You can reach me personally there. Okay.
So maybe real quick about the leadership sessions and program you're talking about. Is that something that's done throughout the year? Are there certain times of the year? How long is it? I mean, just because that's something that interests me greatly.
The heavy times in the summer, of course. Okay. That's when everybody is getting a tan and farmer's tan out there doing recs. But we run it all year round. Okay. So we have them come in on weekends as well. So it's Friday through maybe Sunday morning. But those hours and that experience is still great.
Okay. Yeah, and I would encourage you, let me just say it one more time, crowderscamps.com. I spent some time on the site yesterday and this morning. It's a great website too. So
thank you.
Absolutely. So listeners out there you have it. We've got a great organization and location here right in Gaston County for an opportunity for one of the best opportunities might be for that college age kid to get some do some camps. I know my daughter has worked. This will be her 4th or 5th summer at Camp Toccoa up in Hendersonville, Methodist camp up there, and it's been a great experience for her to do that. And frankly, I'm not even sure we were even on our radar, when she started doing that back 6 or 7 years ago, and it should have been,
Well, we were rookies, so,
yeah. So, again, this has really been great, Jay. I appreciate your time. And so I'm going to just finish up here with my own book recommendations for the week. And Jay mentioned something earlier, and I had no idea the connection between my book recommendation this week versus something he said earlier. Now, I literally just finished a book yesterday called Who Not How. It's by Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy. And basically, it's a book about collaboration and focusing on who can help get things done as opposed to how often we go too quickly to think about the how we're going to get things done. So oftentimes, I know here at GSM, I get bogged down with the how instead of going to ask for help and collaborating well. And earlier, I think Jay made a comment about partner, not pioneer something, and that's really how so many things get done. And that's kind of the focus of this book that I just read. It was really a good one, is why I decided to recommend it today. And again, Who Not How by Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy. And my quote of the week, I did kind of plan this one, knowing what who our guest was this week, and it comes from Proverbs 22:6. It says, "Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it." So we have so many opportunities with our youth, whether it's your own children, youth that you might interact with, church, here in the community or anywhere else. And just remember that I think one of my hardest lessons as a parent was realizing that they were watching more than they were listening, especially when they were younger. So I think I realized early on with my son that, wow, he might not be listening, but boy, he sure is watching what his dad's doing. And I had to be careful because I learned that the hard way. But again, that's one of my favorite.
That's good.
One of my favorite scriptures. So to our listeners out there today, thanks for taking the time to listen to today's episode. And please continue to spread the word if you can about the podcast. And please don't hesitate to contact us here at our email address at podcast@gastonsgreat.com. And I have to admit, we've had a lot of email activity lately. So who knew? We're always looking for suggestions for future podcast topics and guests. You can find the podcast and subscribe at the website, gastonsgreat.com, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. So, and also, please follow us on all our social media platforms and give us that good 5-star rating, because Elizabeth reminds me every week that helps us get noticed. Thanks again to Jay Oliver for being our guest today. Gaston's Great is produced and brought to you by Amy Anderson and Elizabeth King from GSM Services and edited here locally by the Sumner Group. I'm your host, Stephen Long. Thanks again for hanging out with us, and please keep coming back to hear more reasons why Gaston's great.